Hi, my name is Sara Delancy. In 2019, I was diagnosed with stage 3 breast cancer. I started with chemotherapy and I did 3 cycles of adriamycin and Cytoxan, which are the heavy hitters of chemotherapy drugs. Unfortunately, I didn't respond to that and my cancer and tumors grew, so my doctors had to stop treatment and I had an urgent mastectomy on my right breast. After surgery, I had about a month to recover, and then I picked up with chemotherapy with new drugs and continued that for another 3 months. Once I was done with chemo, I got to ring that bell and close that chapter of my treatment, and I moved on to radiation therapy, which I did at MD Anderson in Houston. I did 6 weeks of radiation therapy and lived in Houston while I did that, and in March of 2020, I finished my treatment. I could not have gone through any of this without my amazing husband, Jason. He went to every doctor's appointment with me and he stayed by my side. He was my extra eyes and ears to make sure that we understood what was going on and we could talk through it together. He even updated my friends and family on my treatment. My boys, Evan and Carter, were so supportive and resilient, and they took good care of me while I was going through this. They were patient. They knew that I wasn't the mom that I was before this, and they never left my side. I love them so much. I want to recognize my amazing medical team. First and foremost, my surgeon, Dr. Carey Gray. He is the one that gave me that bad news of you have breast cancer, but he's also the one that saved my life by doing the surgery, removing all of those cancerous lymph nodes in my right breast. I also want to recognize my medical oncologist, Matthew McKelvin. He was amazing. He told me everything I needed to know in a way that I understood. He was supportive and available and made sure that I understood what was going on, and I feel like he is one of the main reasons I'm still here today. And the last group of medical team I want to recognize are the awesome infusion nurses at the Slidell Memorial Cancer Center. They were so caring and supportive and encouraging through those long, grueling months of chemotherapy. They're like my guardian angels. And this is my story. Growing up in Slidell, Louisiana, my second home was the Hurricane Swim Club. My world revolved around swimming. I didn't have many close friends at school because I spent so much time with my swim team. My close friends were my teammates. My parents became close friends with other swim parents as we traveled to swim meets together on our weekends. As an adolescent, I always felt like an ugly duckling, but during my teenage years, I came into my own. On the outside, I became more physically confident, but on the inside, I was still concerned about other people's perception of me, especially when I had to stop swimming because I wasn't good enough to continue at the collegiate level. When I graduated high school, I went to college at LSU. I met many new friends and began a new season of my life, leading to the introduction of my wonderful husband, who is my better half, Jason. As my 40th birthday approached, I gave myself the gift of a Bible study event called Freedom. It's a 10-week deep dive into biblical truths topped off with a weekend retreat. I loved the person I was becoming through Freedom. I stopped worrying about what other people thought of me. I was so on fire for the Lord when Freedom was over that I chose to be water baptized at the weekend retreat. This was a huge decision for me and something that I had wanted to do for several years. But prior to my 40th birthday, I made decisions for my life based on what other people would approve of. Freedom gave me the courage to step out and proudly pronounce my faith by being baptized in front of my family, friends, and church congregation. After Freedom, I was able to openly talk about my faith and what God was doing in my life. In January of 2019, instead of making a New Year's resolution, I chose a scripture to live out in my daily life for the year. I chose Matthew 5:16. Let your light shine before others so that they may see your good works and give glory to your Father who is in heaven. When I chose that scripture, I was thinking of my coworkers. I work in a large office for a major insurance company, and our jobs are very stressful. Sometimes the stress gets the best of us. I wanted to be a light to everyone I met in 2019, but especially my work family. Unfortunately, God had other plans for who and where I would touch lives by being a light. In June of 2019, I was diagnosed with stage 3 breast cancer and decided to take a leave of absence from my job, which was a difficult decision, but I knew the stress of work would make it difficult to give my all to beating cancer. I was committed to living out Matthew 5:16 for the remainder of 2019, even if it was while I was going through cancer treatment instead of working. In an effort to keep my friends and family informed about my treatment, I started a journal on caringbridge.org. Initially, the journal was for practical updates to minimize the calls and text I would have to respond to. Plus, I wanted to share with vulnerability and authenticity what it really looked and felt like to be a cancer patient. I've always enjoyed writing because it is healing for me, and my Caring Bridge journal was no different. It gave me a purpose on days when I didn't know what to do with myself, and it allowed me to share some thoughts I was too scared to verbalize otherwise. After my diagnosis, God continually sent me the word rescue. It was like He was throwing me a life preserver in the pool. I would hear it in songs, I would hear it at church, I would read it in scripture. I always knew that He would rescue me. Most of the time I thought rescue meant I would beat cancer. There was only one time I was really worried that I might not beat it. But then I quickly realized that even if He didn't physically rescue me by beating cancer, He would spiritually rescue me by bringing me home to heaven with Him. Knowing that I would be rescued either way gave me great comfort, and I was not afraid, regardless of the outcome. Thanks to freedom, I was able to surrender my fears to God and be a light by sharing my journal on how God continued to show up for me in my darkest moments and give me the freedom to float.